I turned a company around by rebuilding in 3 months what they've been trying to build in 3 years. This isn't the first time. My career is what I would call a crisis developer for companies that have been burnt, that are either needing to save face with their investors, save money, and really just want to put the politics aside and just deliver value. Majority of the time, this has meant that I've had to spend 18 to 20 hour days to turn them around, climbing into any layer that needed work, from interacting with stakeholders and understanding what the requirements actually are, actually implementing the right systems and building custom software. I'm super grateful for the career that I've had, but a lot of the time it's felt like going from failure to failure because the projects haven't always worked out how I would have wanted them to work out. I very much built a skill set of being able to see what problems we're going to face months ahead of time and help companies identify what the right strategies are to take to ensure the most likelihood of success. But there are definitely things that I'd go back and fix if I could, and decisions that I wish I made differently. So today I want to talk about 18 lessons from 18-hour days for 18 years. These lessons are not in any particular order of importance. It's more just a nice round number for a clickbaity title. Lesson number 1 is to protect your focus. A lot of time is spent on things that have absolutely nothing to do with what you should be focusing on that moves the needle. If you're in a long-term project, you'll generally have long-term outcomes that are set for the quarter or the year, but then what you're focused on per week, per sprint, or even per day has almost nothing that ties up to that. The tasks that you're doing per day should lead up to what you're trying to achieve for the month, should lead up to what you're trying to achieve for the quarter, and ultimately the year. Lesson number 2 is to play to your energy. There are days that I've woken up that an extra hour or 2 of sleep would have meant that I could have gotten up fairly refreshed, done a good day of work, and go back to sleep that night and I'd be fine. But because of waking up when I did, pushing the way I did, ultimately it was harder. It would take more out of me that day. I'd battled to sleep that night, I'd be even more tired the next day, and it very much landed me in a downward spiral. There were days that I got up that to me it was supposed to be a rest day, could be a day off or a weekend, that I had the right level of inspiration and energy that if I climbed into a piece of work I could have gotten a week worth of work done in a day. And that's where I should have put that effort. There are other times where things come up and your schedule doesn't really work well. So if you need to get through a large task that you know is going to take you 4 to 8 hours at a minimum to get to some kind of checkpoint that you can save your progress, and you've only got 45 minutes before you have to go to an appointment or you have to do something else, or even if it's 2 hours or 3 hours, it's just not enough to make a dent in the bulk of what you need to, you can end up losing a whole day and more. Taking the time to have better structure around the work that you do and how you manage your tasks can make it way more effective in those days where you can literally pick something up that moves the needle forward that you just haven't gotten to anywhere else. The third lesson is the difference between plan and execute modes. Everyone wants to see value and they want their return on investment. They want to know that they're going to do something and they're going to see something for their effort as quickly as possible. But a lot of the time people fail to plan properly. They'll put some kind of plan in process. On the surface it feels like it costs less and it'll be quicker, but ultimately it ends up dragging way longer because you haven't thought through what are some of the edge cases that you could experience. Where's the line in the sand of where are we going to reassess if this was the right thing to do, and how do we course correct in time without going too far down one path that it's going to take all of our resources just to get back to the starting point again. If you think of it like moving pieces on a board and each step forward is one move worth of value, if you move 5 moves forward and 4 moves back, you've exerted 9 moves worth of effort, but you only have that one step forward, that one move of value. Whereas if you planned a bit more up front, you might still have done a few extra missteps. You might still have gone forward 4 steps, but now you only have to go back 1 step to step 3 and you've had 2 steps worth of value. I find that months worth of time in every project I've been a part of could have been saved by just having the right people around a whiteboard for the first 1 or 2 weeks of the project, really getting on the same page, really thinking ahead of what they're going to face. Lesson number 4 is to decline the shiny objects. Try not to do anything that distracts you from your current focus. Just because you can do something really well doesn't mean that you should. In my past, I would say yes to a lot of projects, partially because I needed that to cover certain bills, but also because I'm an optimist. I want to help people. I want to see ideas come to life. And what they're asking me, I know that I can hit out of the park, but that's incredibly easy to land up in overcommitting them. A phrase that's really helped me is it's not no, it's just not now. Lesson number 5 is that environment matters. I heard a story once about an entrepreneur that was really successful, and when he was interviewed, he gave this story about how he grew up in a really difficult household with an abusive father, and how he was determined no matter what that he was going to make something of himself and he wasn't going to be like his father was. The reporter that interviewed him for a completely different story ended up doing another story and interviewing someone on death row who'd thrown their lives away and murdered someone else. So she interviewed him and asked him why, and he gave a very similar story. He grew up in an abusive household. All he knew was pain and suffering. After further investigation, she found out that both the death row inmate and that entrepreneur were siblings. They were brothers that grew up in the same household. Just because one environment is incredibly toxic to you doesn't mean that it's toxic to other people. It's one of the hardest things that I've learned. You need to make sure that you surround yourself in an environment where you can flourish. An environment that promotes the things that you want to be promoted. If you find yourself in an environment that constantly forces you to be something you don't want to be, that constantly puts you in the headspace and mindset that pushes you further away from what brings you purpose, then you can try as much as you want, but it's constantly going to be harder. At every step, there's going to be easy ways to slip back into comforts, to be that person you don't want to be, because growth is hard and difficult. And without the right environment that supports it in many different ways, it makes it near impossible, even for the strongest of people. Lesson number 6 is that support matters. A lot of people believe that they have a support structure because they live at home, they've got family and friends, but what they aren't quite ready to hear or acknowledge is that just because someone's related to you or you've been friends for decades doesn't mean they want the best for you. Sometimes your success is threatening to them because it holds up a mirror to their own inadequacies and how they're not moving forward in their lives. A lot of the time, people will drag you down more than they'll help pull you up. Now, I know you can say, but my friends don't do that. My friends are there and they want the best for me. Sure. To that I say, there is another saying. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang around with the most. Or if you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And that more comes down to you're not being exposed to the things that are truly going to grow you. You're being exposed to things that are either pulling you back or going to damage your future. You're being more exposed to things that keep you comfortable, keep you going down certain paths that feel comfortable. Growth is not comfortable. It's not certain. A support structure is not an echo chamber. An echo chamber can be negative and positive. There is some truth to manifestation, being able to think something and speak it into existence, but it comes down to the habits that you do. It comes down to the work and effort that you're willing to stay on that path, to be deserving of that outcome, to make your own luck. And what's really tough is sometimes you don't get that support structure first. You need to let go of everyone around you. You need to isolate and find yourself. You need to work on yourself and figure out what of your own bullshit were you believing. Lesson number 7 is around routine and sleep. Sleep is how your body heals. Life can be incredibly chaotic, but if you're able to keep some kind of regular sleep routine, you will be able to operate better than 99% of other humans out there. Being able to get sufficient sleep on a regular schedule is an absolute damn superpower. The number one thing we've noticed is when our sleep goes first, almost everything goes after that. The quality of our decisions, the ability to push as hard as we are, down to the energy we have to actually stick to what we promise ourselves we're going to do. It becomes way easier to give into our vices and to break that sleep routine, to stay up a bit later watching another episode, maybe eat a bit more junk instead of the food that we have to spend more time preparing. Whenever we find ourselves in a difficult place where we're grumpy and finding it really difficult to deal with just normal day-to-day life, the first thing we need to correct is our sleep. After that, everything else follows. Lesson number 8 is all you need is a little bit of delusion and the audacity to do it. You truly can do anything. Skills can be learnt. It all comes down to attitude. But if you're doubting yourself from the start, you're not going to be able to put in the right level of effort to give any kind of reasonable chance that it will work out in success. Oftentimes, you're doing stuff that's been done by other people. You just don't know how to do it yet. Lesson number 9 is mindset is everything. If you believe you can do it, or if you believe you can't, you are correct either way. Having a good and positive mindset doesn't mean the bad things aren't going to happen. It means that you're building the muscle, that you've committed to yourself that when those bad things happen, you might not know exactly how to get over them, but more that you have the will and sheer audacity that you will get over them. Everything that's happened to you in your life, everything that would have crippled you or that you thought would break you, didn't. You're still here and you're still fighting. A lot of people need help, but only the people that are willing to finally accept help are the ones that can move forward and change their lives because their mindset has changed. That whole concept of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. My fiance once told me that you can pull someone's head out of the sand, but you can't take the sand out of their ears. Lesson number 10 is desire to be curious. Learn and explore and find value in the effort, no matter the outcome. Rory Sutherland often speaks about explorer bees, how they have the wiggle dance to communicate, and about 10% of the time, bees completely ignore the wiggle dance and go off exploring new territories. And that's actually what's led to their survival. Oftentimes, people don't ever train specifically for what they're called to do. They want to be a doctor, so they train to be a doctor. They spend their lives being a doctor, but that doesn't necessarily fill them with purpose. Or they want to be a lawyer, so they go and train that. Want to be a software developer, so they go and learn how to program. Going and learning those individual skills isn't what fills you with purpose. Finding a mission that you believe in and how you use those skills is what fills you with purpose. Seeing how you can help people with those skills is what fills you with purpose. And the only way to truly keep learning new skills and keep letting yourself feel dumb enough to fail and try new things, to unlearn old bad habits and try to form better new ones, the only way to do that is to be curious and to explore new things, understanding that most of it's going to fail. You need to learn to take what you enjoy from all of those experiences and ignore the rest. You need to learn how to navigate those failures to find what truly brings you purpose and what mission you are driving towards. Lesson number 11 is learn to measure with the right tools and metrics. This could have saved a lot of people a lot of heartache, where they spend months or years going down certain paths, doing certain things, and they achieve a lot. They actually achieved what other people could only have dreamed of. They still feel incredibly disappointed because how they are measuring their success didn't meet a certain criteria that there was a completely unrealistic standard to begin with. They don't acknowledge simple truths that they could have figured out at the very beginning of their venture, that the specific vertical they were in wouldn't work out if they were going the route that they originally were wanting to. Or they could learn that if they just packaged their solution slightly differently, they could cut down on costs and actually be able to deliver to the group of people or target market they were originally targeting. Based on the unit economics that they were dealing with, they had to go with a completely different market altogether, and they felt like they failed. If you're trying to increase your income, there's lots of different areas you can focus on. If you've got a low ticket item, you could focus on retention and marketing to get more people buying that low ticket item. But if you've got a high ticket item, there's other areas of what you're doing that you should focus on to give a better experience, because you need to get less people in there for that same item. So depending on the metrics and tools that you're using, you might be measuring the wrong thing. You might be spending all of your time and effort in the most crucial time that could mean the difference between life and death for your business. This is a whole skill on its own, but it was a massive lesson that still shows itself in projects to this day. Lesson number 12 is there are different definitions of done. Some people look at this as if you're launching an MVP, you should be embarrassed by it, or you launch too late. Other people believe that you need to build every feature to be absolutely perfect to get it out, and they proceed to spend years and way too much money doing iteration after iteration. I don't believe either of those extremes are the right way to go. I think it comes down to each individual use case and what you're trying to do. There are definitely times where you should move fast and break things. There are times where your customers will give you more leeway. There are other times where you need to make sure things are very much ironed out and you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's before you even think of launching. There are certain products that you can launch based on an idea, build the community around it, and build it with them in public. There are other times where what you're wanting to build will only work in a small closed group of people for a very hyper niche use case. And dealing with different stakeholders at each part of that process, from idea to execution and delivery of it. Each of those steps will have different ways to validate, were we successful, should we course correct, did we do things the right way, how can we improve. All of those steps have different definitions of done. Lesson number 13 hit me like a freight train. The world is not real. It's held together by unrealistic expectations and double standards. That's why the brave that take so many risks get so much of the upside. That's why it's so important to give yourselves more shots on goal, more than making sure that shot is so perfect and excellent. Everyone feels that they can't do things out of fear, that they can't compete, that there's too many people doing it, that I can't do it to the quality they're doing it, so there's no point in even trying. But what they don't understand is behind closed doors, the entire world is operating on duct tape and chewing gum. It's really a world of handshake agreements and soft promises, where things seldomly work out. For us on a smaller scale, when we mess up, there's a lot of problems that we face. But people playing on higher levels at bigger scales, it's not that they don't have problems. They just have different problems. Life is very much a pendulum. What you try to hold on to keeps getting taken away, and what you keep trying to make sure doesn't come near you, you feel like you're surrounded by 24/7. That's very much target fixation. When a couple gets pregnant, all of a sudden they notice all the pregnant people in the world. If you go and buy a new car, let's say it's an Audi, all of a sudden you notice all the new Audis on the road. If you've suddenly changed and your favorite color is now red, you suddenly notice how many more colors of red there are around you 24/7. That same point of target fixation works in the negative. If you're focused on, oh, but all of this can go wrong, then so much will go wrong. It's difficult to get out of that mindset, but you really need to start seeing it as you just need to start trying more things, start trying different ways of attacking the problem, and understand that everyone is very much in that same boat. The more we feel that we're different, the more we're really the same. Lesson number 14 is that there's no such thing as coincidence. Everything happens for a reason, like the butterfly effect. Something that seems completely inconsequential here has a ripple that leads to complete changes in the universe down the line. There are so many things in my career that I thought, why did I do that? Why did I stick around so long? Why on earth would I put myself in that position to begin with? And literally down to years later, the projects and opportunities that have come up, that me just being a part of that project and having that level of exposure or that level of understanding on that topic has been the difference, where I am now regarded as one of the experts in that field, or that has really opened the doors to work with some amazing people on some really impactful projects. Lesson number 15 is to focus on emotional regulation. I truly believe this is the only way you can actually change your life, because it comes down to very specific moments that the difference between you making the right or wrong response could change the trajectory of your life. Things that you do right now could change the opportunities that are available to you 5, 10 plus years from now. If you're unable to emotionally regulate in the moments that it matters, where you're in a complete fit of rage and have the energy in you that can completely destroy your life or change the lives of people around you. Or maybe you feel sad and you just don't believe in yourself to the point where the right opportunity for you is presenting itself and you're unable to take it. You're unable to sacrifice what you need to believe in yourself and really execute on that opportunity. It really sucks at first, but once you start doing it and you get better at it, suddenly things that used to trigger you just don't trigger you anymore because you realize how inconsequential that energy is. And that's truly where you learn that forgiveness is not about forgiving other people. It's not about other people at all. It's about allowing yourself not to hold on to that energy anymore. It's allowing yourself to move past that. Lesson number 16 is to always do the right thing. Sometimes doing the right thing is hard. It might feel unfair. Feels like you're the one that always sacrifices, that you're always the one that comes out second best. A lot of the time it puts you in a really negative space and it starts to affect you negatively in almost all aspects of your life. And it feels like time after time that you've been hit in the mouth, and you're now being told that if you don't say thank you, they're just going to keep hitting you in the mouth. And then they just keep hitting you in the mouth. And if you try to stand up for yourself, you're just going to lose everything. In those moments is when doing the right thing is the most important. It's in those moments where you could go back and find comfort, where you give in, sell your soul. Being able to keep true to yourself and have integrity in those moments. Your true character is what you do when nobody else is truly looking. Your true character is when shit really hits the fan. How are you handling it? How are you still treating the people around you? And how do you proceed to walk forwards from this moment? A lot of time doing the hard thing means that you walk out into uncertainty and you lose immediately. And that is scary. But I assure you, this is the only way to make sure that you can live a life with no regret. If you make every decision trying to make it the best decision that you could make with the information you have at that point in time, that means that if new information presents itself that you would have made a different decision, you can now make a different decision. It doesn't mean that that previous decision was the wrong decision, because if you had this new information, you would have made a different decision. So you can't feel regret for that, because if you had the new information, you would have made a different decision. So I don't regret that previous decision. But that only counts if you truly believe it. That only counts if you truly make those decisions in that way. What a lot of people also don't understand is going through these hard times, facing these really difficult challenges. This is where people see the true you. This is where you get to see the true people around you. This is where you get to see who are your people that work with you. Who are the people that you want to keep around you? Who are the people that are worth sacrificing for, that are worth waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning to go and help them out? For years, I was the person people would call at the early hours of the morning to help, because they knew that I would be there and I would help with whatever they needed. And when everything in my life falls apart, unfortunately, there's almost no one I've ever been able to call. And even now, getting to the point in my life where I am, going and speaking to the mentors that have been helping me for the past couple of years, and now I find it difficult because the advice that I keep getting are things that I've already tried. I find that the advice that I'm giving to people is some of the learnings that some of my mentors are only coming to now. The lighting's different. Sorry, my phone died. Lesson number 17 is that this is not sustainable. Majority of my career, I've been the guy behind the screen, sitting for 18 to 20 hour days. I would get involved, speaking to various different stakeholders to understand what the real requirements are, breaking that down into the tasks we needed to do, ultimately developing the strategy to actually get the project working and get it shipped. But as I kept seeing, I kept pushing myself to the limits and I kept burning out. Roughly every 18 months, I would land up in just severe panic attacks whenever I'd open up my laptop. And it would take me months of recovery to be okay. All of the lessons above, how to maintain personal preservation through all of it, because they will definitely be hard times. Life does come in seasons and you need to be able to weather those storms. But ultimately the lesson to take out of it is that rest is part of the process. It's not something that comes after the process is done. If you don't make rest and restoration part of your time scheduled in from the start, then you are going to keep pushing until you break every time. And finally, lesson 18 is don't be so hard on yourself. Celebrate the small victories, the small wins, and root for yourself. I had a situation a few months ago where I had to let go of a client because I wasn't delivering on her project. This was the second project that she handed me. I was helping run a freelance project for one of her other businesses, and all of the work that went into turn around the main startup I've been busy with required all of my focus and more. So I had to let go of all the side projects that I had on my plate. I'd done everything I can. I'd worked really hard and long on her project already, but ultimately it needed more than I was capable of delivering at that point in time, just due to the time that I had available. So I met with her and her team. I explained the situation, explained how bad I felt, and wanted to do anything I could to make it right. I ended up reimbursing her and saying that I'd hand over the project to a developer of her choice. I also told her that I would understand if she wanted to hand over the other project as it was ongoing to another developer to maintain moving forward. And through all of that, she turned around and told me, don't be so hard on yourself. There are plenty of people that will do that for you. And she wanted to continue with me on the other freelance project. That conversation meant a lot to me, and it put a lot in perspective. positive. I'm super grateful to be working with clients like that. So Siobhan, if you're watching this video, thank you. I appreciate you more than I can put into words. And that's it. It's most definitely not all the lessons that I can pull from everything, but it's 18 lessons that I've been able to pull looking back on the last 18 years of my career. Now, caveat, it wasn't 18-hour days every day for 18 years, sure. I ended up in these habits and cycles where I would work 18 to 20-hour days, 7 days a week for months at a time, and I'd burn out. Got to the point where every 18 months, I would land up in a situation where I'd open up my laptop and straight up have panic attacks. So there were definitely times throughout my career that I was not in front of a computer because I literally physically couldn't be. But I'd get over that, figured out I need to pay rent somehow. I'd go find a project that needed my help, and I'd go try to change the world. And it seemed exceptionally fitting because I've spent roughly 18 hours a day for the last 3 months focused on rebuilding the startup, and I needed some kind of relatable clickbait title to put in the video. Hope you guys found some value from it. I hope you subscribe and like the video. I want to hear from you down below in the comments. What are you currently facing? What lessons have you learned from the last year? What are you busy pushing on or building? What would you like to see more of? Thank you for sticking around, and thank you for your time. I hope you have a great day. Cheers.